December 17th, 1903. The place? A windswept beach at Kitty Hawk. Something new was happening in the sky above North Carolina. Humans at last found a way to join the birds. It was the first time ever that a machine carrying a man powered itself successfully through the air. What Wilbur and Orville Wright achieved, along with their mechanic Charles Taylor, would both open up the skies and shrink the planet. It would forever change civilization. The story of flight is a story about three men who were involved in the invention and development of the first powered airplane. First, they had to invent the airplane. Next, teach themselves to fly. Then, design and build an airplane engine. And finally, craft an original propeller. The story of flight is a story about genius. Everyone knows about Orville and Wilbur Wright. But that third man was Charles E. Charlie Taylor, a quiet genius who loved cigars and the sound of machinery. The Wright family home at 7 Hawthorne Street in West Dayton was where much of the creative thinking and planning behind the world's first airplane took place. It housed the Wright family book collection that was neither modest nor commonplace. Their father, Bishop Wright, a lifelong lover of books, heartily championed the limitless value of reading. The bishop and his wife Susan created within their home broad educational experiences for their children, knowing that creativity and imagination are what drive human beings to excel, to invent, to innovate, and to appreciate. Wilbur and Orville had a variety of individual talents, skills, and personality traits that complemented one another, relying on each other's strengths and compensating for each other's weaknesses. The two were remarkably self-contained, ever industrious and virtually inseparable. They lived in the same house, worked together 6 days a week, ate their meals together, kept their money in a joint bank account, and even thought together. The reality is that neither probably could have achieved alone what they did as a team. Wilbur was quiet, but sure of himself. He was intellectually motivated, excelled in school, had an extraordinary memory, and was a good athlete. He was self-confident, controlled, and of steady demeanor, never rattled in thought or temper as his father described him. Highly intelligent, he was a voracious reader, a talented writer, and a gifted speaker. Wilbur always represented the brothers publicly. More impulsive than his contemplative, thoughtful older brother, Orville had boundless curiosity and energetically pursued a range of interests. His mind was quick, and he was always coming up with new inventions. While pursuing the airplane was initially Wilbur's idea, Orville's enthusiasm and optimism were often what carried them through to solutions of difficult technical problems. Despite their lack of interest in formal credentials, the brothers in fact had an education comparable to a modern 4-year college degree. Since 1899, Wilbur and Orville Wright had been scientifically experimenting with the concepts of flight. It was the Wrights' genius and vision to see that humans would have to fly their machines. In Wilbur's words, "It is possible to fly without motors, but not without knowledge and skill." With over 1,000 glides from atop Big Kill Devil Hill, the Wrights made themselves the first true pilots. These flying skills were a crucial component in their invention, and before they ever attempted powered flight, the Wright brothers were masters of the air. On October 31st, 1902, the Wrights returned to Dayton to make plans for a powered airplane. Through their experiments, the Wrights were able to accurately predict the horsepower required to produce and achieve powered flight. They sent detailed specs to 10 companies for an engine that would produce 8 horsepower and weigh no more than 200 pounds. Within a month, all 10 companies wrote back to say it can't be done. Failing to find any engine manufacturers who could produce or modify an engine, the Wright brothers decided to design and build their own engine, giving that task to their mechanic Charles Taylor, and they would build the airframe. Charlie and the Wright brothers sketched out their design ideas, thoroughly discussed it, and then Charlie went to work to create that impossible engine. Even with his limited knowledge about gasoline engines, Charlie welcomed this new challenge. Using his craftsmanship, genius, and enthusiasm to tackle the task, Charlie started building the engine in the winter of 1902. Charlie finished the engine in 6 weeks, an amazing accomplishment considering he was only using a drill press, a lathe, both run by a natural gas engine, and hand tools. In February 1903, Charles E. Taylor successfully completed the first aircraft engine. In September 1903, the Wrights, along with Charlie, returned to their camp at Kill Devil Hills. They mounted the engine on the new 40-foot, 605-pound Flyer with the intention of flight. A bulky engine and broken propeller shafts slowed them until they were finally ready on December 14th. In order to decide who would fly first, the brothers tossed a coin. Wilbur won the coin toss, but lost his chance to be the first to fly when he oversteered with the elevator after leaving the launching rail. The Flyer climbed too steeply, stalled, and dove into the sand, slightly damaging the forward elevator. The Flyer was airborne for only 3½ seconds, but the power of the engine and the responsiveness of the controls bolstered Wilbur's confidence. He wrote home, "There is now no question of final success." 3 days later, on December 17th, they were ready for a second attempt. The brothers were dressed in coats and ties that December morning for an event that would alter the world. The 27-mile-per-hour wind was harder than they would have liked, since their predicted cruising speed was only 30 to 35 miles per hour. The headwind would slow their ground speed to a crawl, but they proceeded anyway. Now it was Orville's turn. Words were impossible over the engine's roar, so they shook hands and Orville positioned himself on the Flyer. At 10:35, he released the restraining wire. The Flyer moved down the rail as Wilbur steadied the wings. After a run of about 40 feet, the Flyer left the ground. Again, the Flyer was unruly, pitching up and down as Orville overcompensated with the controls. Nevertheless, he kept it aloft until it hit the sand about 120 feet from the rail. A total flight of 12 seconds into the 27-mile-per-hour wind. The brothers took turns flying 3 more times that day, getting a feel for the controls and increasing their distance with each flight. The Wright machine had flown, but it would not fly again. After the last flight, it was caught by a gust of wind, rolled over, and damaged beyond easy repair. With her flying season over, the Wrights sent their father a matter-of-fact telegram reporting the modest numbers behind their amazing achievement. Perhaps the most influential individuals in history, Wilbur and Orville Wright's creative and technological genius revolutionized transportation on planet Earth. The brothers, along with their mechanic Charles Taylor, helped create an entirely new world. The impact of the airplane would be beyond measure.